what I'm going to be reading for you tonight is a couple of pieces from my Hugo voting packet. This is wildly different to everything we've ever done here before. Firstly, because this is all written by me. Secondly, because every single piece I'm about to throw at you is non-fiction, so this will feel weird, but hopefully it will feel the good kind of weird. And before we do that, just a very quick reminder, if you need water or a drink or some food, please get them. If you want to get comfortable for a minute, so as we settle in, please do. If there are meds that you need to take, please take them.
Are there any content warnings for our readings tonight?
I don't even think there are swears. Hold on.
There's got to be swears. Come on.
Very mild content warning. Professor sneezed. Good grief. That's brilliant. Yes, all the articles I'm about to read can be found here. Very mild content warning for the first one, which is a review of a movie that deals with grief. The second one is a pseudopod endcap, which deals with horror as a fundamentally hopeful genre. So I wrote that. The third one is content warning for possible accidental Smallville karaoke.
What?
You'll see.
Oh no.
The fourth one is a piece about the Gaiman scripted Audible adaptation of Sandman. And I mean, literally the only content warning you could give for that is I'm a little grumpy. So, with all that being said, and there might be a mystery fifth one, you never know. For all that being said, I'm going to take a slug of water. I recommend you do the same. And jump on in. And I'm now mildly terrified someone's going to go, 5 minutes left. Like, no!
Should I make a little sign that says 5 minutes left that I can stick in front of you? Will that feel better?
Only if you have it on a telescoping metal rod, so it can kind of go...
I got 10 minutes. Go for it.
I love her.
Searching for tiny wizard hat on Amazon has options for Chungus.
Yes! Thank you. Fanta is absolutely fine. Right, let's make a start. Starfish. Aubrey returns home for her best friend Grace's funeral. She's numb, angry, closed off, and she is running from something awful. Aubrey nests inside Grace's life, sleeping at her old apartment and refusing to accept the truth. The next morning, she's alone. The town is covered with snow and horrific creatures prowl the streets. But Aubrey can save the world, because Grace knew this was coming, and Grace has made her the last mixtape humanity will ever need. Starfish, A.T. White's debut, refutes the idea that cinema or genre fiction is simplistic, with basically every frame. It combines a meditation on grief with an exploration of small-town life, the end of the world, and a star-making turn from Virginia Gardner, best known for her work in Runaways. White sets up a complex structure, a quest, and a secret, and then proceeds to hand us the pieces and invite us to assemble it ourselves, and even decide which pieces fit together, in which order. Lesser filmmakers would fail. White succeeds completely. A massive part of that is Gardner, who throws everything into her turn as Aubrey. She's depressed, reclusive, quiet, and most of all, deeply recognizable. Grief wears this oversized jumper, and as Gardner trudges across town, every element of the movie focuses back on Aubrey's mindset. The snow, the bad weather, the quiet. At one point in a Socratic dialogue with either herself or a ghost, Aubrey talks about how she can't feel her fingers. The reason why is disassociation. And disassociation is the answer and the magnetic north the movie always steers towards. If this was just art house grief with a light seasoning of genre, then it wouldn't work. But the genius of what White does here lies in how the narrative builds your perspective into it, and then plays with your expectations. Early on, I was convinced the entire movie was a hallucination, and Aubrey was being talked out of it. By the time in the movie's best scene, she briefly visits the scene of the movie and watches Gardner playing her, I was less sure. The moment the ending came around, I was convinced again. The moment someone presses a button on the tape deck after the ending, I changed my mind. This is a movie where certainty is as mercurial as the world is concrete, where the cacophony of possibility howls against the snowed-shut windows of grief. It is incredibly audacious, all the more so just for how well it works. Starfish is categorically genre fiction, but it's genre fiction that is adaptable and protean in a manner that embraces the viewer even as it challenges you. Moments of breathtaking visual choices, especially an animated sequence, sparkle all the more for the bleak scenes that bookend them. Aubrey's strange, quiet world is beautiful as well as dangerous, a home as well as a prison. She spends the movie making choices about what it really is, and we are with her every step of the way, trudging out across a blank page of snow, writing our name into a world we're still adapting to, changing our story as we change ourselves, watching the end shift and evolve somewhere far, far in the distance. Grief, science fiction, horror, joy, the pains of small-town life, all in under 100 minutes. Starfish is complex, emotionally charged, essential viewing, and it is available to stream and buy now. Next up, we have an outro from the Pseudopod episode released on the 1st of September 2019. This is a story called Birds of Passage, which is legitimately in my top 10 favourite episodes of all time. It is quite unlike the vast majority of stuff we do. Thank you, Dave. But also absolutely in keeping with it in really big, interesting thematic sweeps. This essay, because I am a mere 7 years behind in collecting and releasing the collections of end caps, is also titled, and that title is From Which Anything. There's a quote from the story I love, and it's this: "A darkness from which anything could emerge." I get in a lot of trouble every now and then for talking about horror as an inherently hopeful genre. It is, and what sort of hope it provides depends on your mood. The darkest flavour is, of course, Schadenfreude. We laugh because we would never do something so stupid. We scream at the two-dimensional monster that is safely trapped within those two dimensions. We embark on a journey into the darkness on rails, knowing full well that however bad it gets, the train will not stop and we will come out the other side. Then there's the kind of horror embodied by the quote above and by the story as a whole. The kind of horror cut with the espresso buzz of joy, of discovery. The repeated refrain here, "It's an adventure," is one redolent with meaning, and by no means all of those meanings are positive. This is what happens when you step off the track. This is what happens, it is implied heavily, when whatever is just off the track sees you. What haunts me about this piece is that it's beautiful. It speaks on a deep and primal level to the same thing that attracts me to The Mist. And if you haven't seen the movie version of The Mist, especially the black and white version, please do. It is extraordinary. To Cloverfield, to Tim Lebbon's superlative and underrated novel Coldbrook. The beauty of the alien is the baseline to every genre of speculative fiction. Arguably every genre, even. We move instinctively towards the leviathans glimpsed off the We move instinctively towards the leviathans glimpsed off the path, precisely because they are both leviathans and off the path. We are attracted to the new, not just because it could destroy us, but because it's new. I saw this last week, driving up the country through 3 sets of traffic jams, all of them caused by people wanting to look at big construction equipment. Sometimes what's off the path is adultery or murder. Sometimes it's alien life, or the books that help young witches escape. Sometimes it's the voice a young black woman needs to articulate the problems her neighbourhood is refusing to buckle under. Sometimes, and this is that rarest of instances where I can legitimately quote Ghostbusters 2, it's just some big lizard. But it's always beautiful, and it's always terrifying, and it's always there. And that constancy, that knowledge, that's hopeful too. I love this piece. You may be able to tell.
We have a lot of big lizard stories on Pseudopod, don't we?
What can I say? We're always down with the kaiju.
It's like the lounge version of Down with the Sickness, Down with the
Down
Kaiju.
with the kaiju.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
Earlier today I saw a fantastic supercut on YouTube of someone saying Godzilla and looking off shot and then instantly cutting to Godzilla. And it's like the perfect demonstration of that. You repeat things enough times, it becomes funny. And
Kind of like the song you were playing before the stream today?
Yes, exactly. The pitch corrected version of All Star by Smash Mouth, which just gets to the "and they don't stop coming," and just keeps going.
For the rest of the song.
And is pitch shifted to adjust to the rest of the song. And it becomes hilarious. And then it punches out the other side of hilarious into awful. And then it punches out the other side of awful back into hilarious. And it's just, I love it to tiny, tiny pieces. It looks like Godzilla, but due to international copyright laws, it is not.
For anybody who's seen the most recent Godzilla movie, that is Alasdair's tea mug. It says "not yours" on it.
I regret nothing.
If anybody's surprised, we also have the Bouncy Balls from West Wing, and we will sit here and bounce them back and forth and talk every once in a while.
Yeah, we do. Quite a lot. You complete me.
I love you.
I love you too.
You gonna read another one?
I'm going to read another one. So, the other thing I do at the full lid, which is where the first and this piece have come from, is I tend to go hold forth at length about things. The most recent example of this is I have about 2,500 words on how only I can save the Expendables franchise. And I mean all of it. I mean the core movies and the Expendables spin-offs, which went very awful, so awful they actually never made them, and the Jason Statham spin-off movie. And it involves stunt doubles and Sylvester Stallone's evil brother playing Barney's evil brother. And I've said too much. So instead...
We'll put that one in the thread. How about that?
Yes. So instead, what I'm going to do is talk about my favourite Kryptonian. Because Warner Brothers keep trying to reboot Superman. And I keep having opinions. And here are some of them. Saving the Man of Tomorrow. My favourite son of Krypton is back in the news. Henry Cavill has made it clear there's still things he wants to do with the role. Warners have mumbled something about an important call on the other line and made vague noises about trying to make Superman more relevant. This has, understandably, led to the sort of howls of derision normally reserved for Joss Whedon reminding everyone how totes feminist he is. It's not been a good look. It's also not a conversation that's entirely needed. The truth is, Superman has never been more relevant. He's an undocumented migrant raised in Kansas who grew up surrounded by the 56.16% of the state's population that voted in the most violently anti-anyone but him president in modern history. Plus, he's a journalist. The only subgroup said president and his supporters hate even more than people who are different colours, religions, sexualities, or who look funny. In other words, Clark Kent is an open door to the sort of complex, necessary, and difficult conversation pop culture is very good at having with itself. So, while it's good they maybe don't want him to be a Dean Randian murderer anymore, Warner Brothers really needs to buy several clues from the clue store. And I have excellent news because it just so happens I own a franchise. First off, the Michael B. Jordan effect. Michael B. Jordan is one of those actors whose work never fails to be good. If you've seen Fruitvale Station, you'll know how good he is at dialing it down. If you've seen Black Panther, you'll know how good he is at turning it up. Fantastic Four, Creed, Fahrenheit 451. While Jordan hasn't always done good movies, he's always been good in the movies he's done. Word is, he's pitched an idea for the character to Warners. On the one hand, great. On the other, he's busy for the next several years. Most importantly, this really is a do it right or don't do it at all situation. While the rumour is that Jordan pitched something based on Calvin Ellis, an alternate Earth Superman who is also the US president, whichever version of the character would have to be informed by cultural elements that white viewers would not find familiar. This is an objectively very, very good thing, because diversity and inclusion are of course how we evolve as a species, but as the always excellent cultural critic Stitch pointed out a few years ago, the environment this would happen in is the textbook definition of non-permissive. Now, that isn't to say it can't or shouldn't be done. It can, and it should. And podcasts like Red Wing, which deals with a openly gay superhero, or more recently the extraordinarily good Valence, demonstrate how. Get the right creatives aboard. Trust them. Get out of their way and let a unique take on a classic story happen. You want to make the character relevant? Do something daring with him and hand it over to one of the best actors on the planet. Option 2. Zolia, no, I haven't seen Jedlock and I really want to. I do hear it's very good. Halt and catch falling Loises. So, much as I love Smallville, and the original story did have a link to the theme tune here, these two are here not to advocate for a return to the show so much as a placeholder. Because if you want to make Clark relevant, you don't do that on the big screen. You do it on the small screen. Literally. You start them as podcasters running a current affairs show. Both gifted, both young, both gloriously, differently stupid, and both broke as hell. Have Pete Ross run it. Have the other planet correspondents cameo as other staffers. They're all younger, all working their asses off. They live in the city of tomorrow. They live somewhere that has an actual, honest-to-God superhero and under an administration that has all but declared war on him, and they eat noodles 3 times a week and can barely make rent. How do they keep the company going? What happens when Lois gets asked to join the planet? What happens when LexCorp accidentally shuts off the power to their building? Or the LexCorp lab at the end of the block blows up and a green rain falls that puts Clark in the hospital? Explore how these people live with and around each other as their own bosses in a city that doesn't care about them, but that they care desperately for. They know they're good enough to change the world if they just got the chance. And at the end of the first season, you have them faced with that chance. You let the planet buy them out, or you let Lex sponsor them for the rest of their lives and return for the odd favor. It gets that halt and catch fire startup vibe. It allows you to do old-school Superman punching slum landlord stories and social justice exploration through the lens of a city literally building itself into the future, and the canvas of a superhero learning who he can be. The final option I have for you is called Superfamily Assemble. Melissa Benoist has been the anchor of what is comfortably the best DCU TV show there is. I love you, Bebo, but even you, sit down, for the last 5 seasons, and the show works precisely because the showrunners get the character. Now, they've actually had Lois and Clark on as semi-regular guests, and they're also now moving them off into their own spin-off, but the solution here is actually really simple. You put all of them on the big screen. Because, like Chris Evans as Captain America, Tyler Hoechlin and Melissa Benoist as Clark and Kara exude the fundamental goodness and calm of their characters. Better still, they both bring the lightness of touch the characters desperately need, and God love them, the Warner movies got for the whole last 10 minutes of the Whedon cut of Justice League. Clark and Kara are the perfect combination of cornball, goof, and golden retriever. They are country kids raised with profoundly old-fashioned and yet still inclusive values, who think people should be nice and help one another. In anyone else's hands, it would be corny. Here, it plays absolutely real. Plus, there's the wonderful sequence in an early episode where they stop a bank robbery while debating while people always try and punch the bulletproof superhero shows. They're actually kind of adorable. Like I say, a Clark and Lois show based pretty closely on the extremely fun Super Sons comic, and their current domestic life is in the works, and that's going to make a particular strand of fan, of which I am one, very happy. But that's not the point here. The point is that a systemic failure of imagination has meant that a character who is universally relatable has been a glowering murder petrel for 1.75 movies. Somehow, the idea of someone who is strong, good, and kind feels alien to the studio, even in the post-Steve Rogers world we live in. That saddens me more than I can say. But the fact that ideas ranging from Jordan's take to the Super Sons are being considered means there really are grounds for hope, and that, more than anything else, is what Superman excels at. Hope. In the darkest hours, the reassurance not just of his strength, but of our own. That, more than anything else, is what we need in popular culture in the year of our Lord Keanu 19, which means, far from him being irrelevant, this truly is the last Son of Krypton's moment.
Even more so in this year than last year.
Yes. I have used the phrase 20 fucking what now in more recent pieces. Not now, microbes that have previously lain dormant for hundreds of millions of years. Now, I have 2 more pieces for you, and we actually have a good chunk of time.
Yeah, we're doing okay.
But one of them is not loaded into this document because it was a last-minute find. So, do you have my iPad?
Yeah. Hold on a second. Let's see if the stream falls over because you've taken it out of airport mode. Hopefully not. I just gotta find it. Here we go.
It's all good.
Sorry, everybody.
It's been a long day.
Wednesday, Lemon.
Only for the next 25 minutes.
Shush now.
I love how the moment I even consider turning a device off airplane mode, the stream goes, no, red, I can't take it. I can't take it. Stop it now.
So hopefully this won't fall over and you can pull up what you need
and then immediately go back to airplane mode.
Yeah, exactly. Vamp, quick!
Da, 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 da. I don't know why she says vamp and I go for the Johnny Carson theme, as sung by Cartman, but there we go. Okay. Every now and then, I'll wait for it to come back up. I'm off airplane mode now.
Is it feeling more stable now?
Nope, we're still on red, and...
Yeah, now we're getting buffer.
Ah, damn it all. Hold fast, folks. I think we're climbing back out.
Does it look better now?
No, it's dropping.
Ah.
I do not know why that is suddenly balked. That is very weird.
Is it still forked?
We're on 1105 kbs, but we're also still showing a red light.
Okay. Hang on a second. We might have to stop the stream and reinitiate. I'm hoping not. What is running all of a sudden? I don't know.
Folks, can you hear me? And are we still buffering in video as well? Oh, Jack says we're better.
It looks like it's creeping. No, it doesn't look like it's doing much better.
But the delay is big.
Okay. I think what we'll do is, why don't we let everybody know we're going to stop the stream and come right back.
Okay. Folks, what we're going to do is stop the stream temporarily and basically conduct the tried and tested IT technique of turning it off and then turning it back on.
Why don't we actually go to our BRB? We're going to troubleshoot. We'll be right back.
And we're back. How's everyone been? It's been so long. Every now and again I don't behave. I have been conditioned...
No!
Shut up! I've been conditioned from a professional point of view to always be kind of slightly studious and academic and show my sources and all of this. And then there are the days where I have enough coffee. And on the days when I have enough coffee, I write things like this. My Event Horizon Fever Dream. It takes a certain type of movie to successfully land a haunted house that's a spaceship as a concept. It takes even more to attract a cast including Lawrence Fishburne, Sam Neill, Jolie Richardson, Joan Allen, Jack Noseworthy, King of all names, Jason Isaacs and Sean Pertwee.
Hello to Jason Isaacs.
Making an actual legitimately good movie that uses Audible's Satan as its final jump scare, takes the sort of moxie that makes George Clooney nod appreciatively down the bar of the casino at you, even as Sandra Bullock and Cate Blanchett are taking your contact details for their next job. Event Horizon, written and directed by Paul Anderson, has that moxie. The Lewis and Clark is a deep-range search and rescue vessel. Someone drops the ball, they get the call, off at the gallop to save some lives. But the Event Horizon, a testbed for the world's first interstellar drive, has just reappeared after a decade away. And Dr. Weir, the ship's designer, wants answers. Spoiler, all those answers involve horrible things. I love Event Horizon. It's a big, gore-soaked puppy of a movie that folds my favourite horror tropes. Hi, I'll be your villain this evening, and I've translated the Latin and it says we're fucked, and throws them into my favourite setting. Plus it does so with no chill at all. The Event Horizon's interior looks like a cathedral had blackout sex with an Iron Maiden album cover. The drive itself looks like Pinhead's stress toy. This is clearly the bad place, which makes watching this likeable crew of assholes be slowly but surely destroyed by it both all the more horrifying and just vastly entertaining. Now, word comes to us that Event Horizon is about to be adapted for TV by Amazon under the control of Adam Wingard. Wingard, as well as sounding a little bit like a Gargoyles bad guy, is a horror director with a grounded and unflinching eye. And The Guest is one of my all-time favourite movies. Seriously, it is built like nothing on earth, and is so much fun. He's doing the work for Amazon, because eventually we all will, and that's not good. But hey, at least this way it won't get cancelled 2 to 3 seasons in for featuring women, gay people, and non-Caucasians. Right, Netflix? I remember Sense8. Anyway. But here's the thing. I want very badly this to be one of those shows people don't see coming. And with the benefit of an unlimited budget and not having the job, here's how I do it. Lie. For 2 seasons. Have 2 full seasons of the Lewis and Clark going on adventures. Space adventures. Space rescue adventures. Have Miller defy orders to drop them into a Martian dust storm and rescue a crew trapped on a stratolite. Have Stark be offered the big chair on the Finds and turn it down because she realises she likes being on the Clark more. Follow Coop as the ship rescue technician finds himself working a job in the lunar habitat he grew up in. Show us the horrific trauma that leads to DJ becoming the mumbling, quiet, reserved, and clearly furious man he is. Have the Clark be the only ship available to rescue Smitty's old posting, including the commanding officer that he transferred to search and rescue to escape. Full space casualty, maximum Skytruck. You know it makes sense. And it does. There is a top-notch cast in there. I'm seeing Aldous Hodge as Miller, Lauren Cohan as Stark, Toby Cabell as Smitty, just for starters, and let them work and let the audience invest in the show's fundamentally reassuring aesthetic and hard world. The simple, brutal, and fun drudgery of working search and rescue in a busy solar system. Make us care about these characters. Show us how they became who they are. And then send them to hell. Play the movie out exactly as it was on the screen. Pick them off one by one and make sure it all hurts. Have evil not only assault the sanity of Dr. Weir, but the very shape of the show itself. Curdle space casualty into space casualties. End the show. Break the toys. Drop the mic. Cue the music. Or at least that's what I do. Event Horizon is in development at Amazon now, and you can bet I'm looking forward to what they do.
That was a good day.
I had fun with that.
We have somebody saying I don't know what this show is. You want to talk a little bit more about Event Horizon?
Yes, Event Horizon is an early 1990s science fiction horror movie, which basically deals with a search and rescue team fighting not stairs, thankfully, but in what's ultimately revealed to be the sentient spacecraft that has returned from a dimension under our own, which is in fact hell itself. It is a slasher movie in space. It is a crushingly unsubtle slasher movie in space that somehow got an incredible cast that actually holds the whole thing together. If you watch it for absolutely nothing else, watch it for Coop the Funky Spaceman. Cooper is the ship rescue technician. He's basically the guy who Wreck Runner, the audio drama that Mur and I are doing with Six to Start shortly, is directly inspired by Coop. He's the guy who runs off and grabs you when the airlock fails or when your suit bursts or all that kind of thing. And he has no fun at all in Event Horizon, and he's so endearing as a result. It's a really... I hesitate to say it's good. It is a film I'm very fond of.
We have Satan in space.
Satan in space. Yes, and famously it does end with... it's very nearly the only final scene jump scare that I like, largely because it just crash cuts to infamous British early 90s noise merchants, Orbital, and a track they did where the refrain is basically really hard electronic dance music and a sample of someone yelling Satan over and over and over.
It was of the time.
It was very much of the time.
Is an excellent description.
Yes. So yeah, that's what happens when I take the brakes off. I have one more thing for you. This is called Recurring Nightmares. Audible have just released an audio adaptation of the first 3 volumes of Neil Gaiman's scripted graphic novel series, The Sandman. If you've never read it, please do. It's a foundational text of modern Western comics storytelling. In very short summary, Lord Morpheus, the embodiment of the concept of dream, is captured by an English occultist and imprisoned for decades. It's actually by accident, and you find out who the occultist was really looking for over those decades, and eventually Morpheus escapes. When he escapes, he sets about discovering how he was caught and what's been done in his absence. It's red-toothed horror and urban fantasy mixed with bone-dry comedy about the artistic mindset and some fundamentally kind storytelling that I still find really surprising and welcome. These books are special, and I say that as someone who fights very shy of the concept of sacred texts. The cast is amazing and includes Riz Ahmed as the Corinthian, who is a nightmare, Michael Sheen continuing Operation Play Every Angel Ever as Lucifer, Scotland's Tiny King James McAvoy as Morpheus, and more. The whole cast is just wow-inducing, and by all accounts, it's an amazing production, and it's actually been put together by Dirk Maggs. Maggs is something of a legend in very small circles over here, of which I am part. Basically, if you were growing up in the UK in a certain time frame, you will have heard Dirk Maggs' version of Judge Dredd. You will have heard him adapt Batman stories. You'll have heard him do 1 or 2 Superman things. And I swear, nothing I'm about to say is made up. I own copies of this. There is physical evidence. This is not an oral hallucination. He produced ID4 UK, which is the side story to the original Independence Day. You may remember in Independence Day, there's a pair of fighter pilots in Egypt who have 2 lines. And one of them is, and I'm not over-egging the accents here at all, the Americans, they have a plan. To which the other one responds, well, it's about bloody time. Brilliantly, ID4 UK is the story of how they got to Egypt. Even more brilliantly, this story involves them taking legendary British astronomer Sir Patrick Moore on an initial kind of fact-finding flight over the UFO, and at one point, this line of dialogue. Dave, yeah? Am I concussed, or is Sir Patrick Moore having a fistfight with an alien? Well, you're not concussed. It is, by some distance, the weirdest thing I have heard possibly ever. And Maggs is, like I say, is the producer behind it, and he's fantastic, and this will be fantastic. And I'm actually really excited to hear it. But there's a thing that bothers me. There's a thing that makes me very tired, and it's this. There are 20 named characters in the cast. 3 of them are being played by persons of colour. Those actors are Riz Ahmed as the Corinthian, Patterson Joseph as the demon Chronozon, and Reginald D. Hunter as John Johns, also known as the Martian Manhunter. Or to rephrase that, Riz Ahmed is playing a sentient nightmare, Patterson Joseph is playing a demonic nightclub owner, and Reginald D. Hunter is playing an alien. 3 POC cast members in the primary cast list. and none of them are playing humans. And that's why I'm tired. I'm not angry. Others have the right to that anger. I'm also not throwing aspersions. Like I say, Mags is a legendary audio producer. Gaiman's face is carved into comics Mount Rushmore. Every single one of these cast members is a world-class talent. Samantha Morton's in there, and she's just spent 2 years being the most terrifying element of The Walking Dead. Michael Sheen cannot turn in bad work. He genuinely doesn't know how. James McAvoy's electric combination of intellect and stillness, eloquence and awkwardness is exactly Morpheus. This is going to be great. By all accounts, it is great. But I can't quite not see the version we could have had. Imagine Riz Ahmed as Morpheus. Imagine his softly spoken, gentle presence whispering in the back of your head. Or Patterson Joseph, for that matter, a man who walked away with every single frame of previous Gaiman project Neverwhere and remains one of the greatest Doctor Who actors we never had. Imagine Reginald D. Hunter, one of my favourite hyper-articulate, funny big men, as Matt the Raven. There is nothing stopping these men being cast in these roles. There's nothing stopping Riz Ahmed, a man who was, by the way, prevented from attending Star Wars Celebration the year Rogue One was released because they wouldn't let him fly, playing an average guy called Dave. God knows they've all earned it. There is nothing in their way but societal institutional bias, and it's always in their way, even, it seems, in Morpheus's realm. And there, more than anywhere, we shouldn't be afraid to dream a little bigger. And that's kind of what I got for you this week. I almost didn't run with that last one because I'm very aware that it potentially ends on a slight downer note. But what I'm trying for there is less a downer and more kind of, this is really good, but this could be good too, you know? And it's my critical writing is always really, really weird for me. It's something which I wrestle with an awful lot because I remain perennial. Is good, could be gooder, is actually the perfect definition of that. I perennially wrestle with the fact that I like most things. Marguerite will attest to this. I am incredibly happy when I find a movie I don't like. It's like stumbling through a room filled with fog and finding a corner, you know? It's like, oh, hooray, there are boundaries. And what I find myself writing about and talking about when it comes to the cultural stuff more and more is trying to kind of thread this line between everything has an element to it that's worthwhile, because I firmly believe everything does. And at the same time, when there are elements of stuff which are lazy or where there is bias which isn't seen, being able to point at that and go, this isn't right. And to do that, I basically have to forget that fog, you say. Yes, I do, Specky. Yes, I do. And to do that, I basically have to forget I'm English. And it's kind of difficult, but I'm working on it.